Hi, gang. It's Patrick.
And Kale.
Coming up on today's episode, Kale gives us a full trip report from his recent voyage on the Disney Wish. As always, we discuss the latest Disney news, and we close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Kale and the Seven Seas English.
I like that. Patrick, no, I was not out of control. I was angry. Kazuki.
That is an exact representation of my entire life. Just summed up in one sentence. Thank you so much
I know.
for that.
Yes, it's a quote from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion. But I'm trying to meet all target audiences.
Yeah, you're on message and on brand today. I appreciate it.
You were welcome.
Kale, yeah. Kale, however, are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. You have just returned literally 24 hours ago from a voyage on the seas.
Yes, it was amazing. I know. I feel like I have a tiny bit of color to my face, which is strange. I don't. I went from ghost white to slightly off ghost white. And yeah, or it might just be. This might just still be like a little bit of like suntan lotion, like residue that's just like turned brown and caked onto and I haven't had time to really like deep clean it in the shower. But
perfect.
Anyways, I'm feeling it. Like it looks a little bit cute. You haven't said anything about it, and we've been talking for about 20 minutes, but it's cool.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I mean, you're on Zoom right now looking at me, and you can see through me, I think. That's how.
Yeah, typically you and I
pigment.
Yeah, typically you and I are pretty on par together with our very fluorescent skin tone.
Yeah, it's true. I am glowing, but it's not like a joy glow. It's just
right.
It's just the reflection of all the light bulbs bouncing off of my skin.
I wonder if I snapped your back and shook you up, would you actually glow?
That's probably there's a good chance. There's a very good chance. Well, all of our Patreon members will get to see the translucency that is me and the pigment that is you now on our very first Zoom party coming up in about a week from
That's
now.
right. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. Although now that I say a week from now, I actually mean it already happened by the time you're listening to this, probably, because it's on October 29th. And this episode drops in a couple of days from now. So, anyways.
That's right. I hope everybody liked my costume that I wore.
I'm sure. Why do you say it like that? You are wearing a costume? Yes.
I do. I have no. Well, I was saying it as like past tense because they'll be listening to this after they see my sick costume that I definitely already have and have.
You've absolutely thought about it. You've definitely put some time and energy into this.
Do you have yours picked out?
I don't. Nope, no. I'm not going to lie to you. So, I have no idea what I'm going to wear.
Yeah, so this was, I know that the last episode, the Coven episode, which was so much fun, by the way. That was so much fun. That was killer. But when I got voted the Billy Butcherson of the group, I really, really wanted to make a really like film realistic Billy Butcherson to happen. I just don't think I have the patience or time to do it. And also I love dressing up for Halloween, but I can't stand a wig or makeup. After about 3 minutes in it, I've expired. And so it would be a miserable Zoom party for our Patreons who paid to see it. So
Fair enough. Well, if anyone's listening who is not a Patreon member and you missed this Zoom party, fear not. There will be other ones, and all you have to do is become a Patreon family member for as little as $1 reoccurring a month. You too can join Zoom parties where we may or may not be wearing costumes. Who can say?
We may or may not be coherent. Who knows? Who knows? Right?
Oh yeah, day drinking will be happening, I'm sure.
Oh, it has
during
to.
the Zoom party.
Yes, we should next time. We might even do for like people who donate like all of their money. We might do like a pre-game party And then, but that's literally all of your money. Like, we need to see like what you're donating in comparison to like your monthly income. And then we decide if it constitutes all the money.
We need the receipts. We need the receipts for sure. Do. Absolutely. I have to say, though this is a Disney podcast, this is not Disney, although it kind of ties in Disney because it is on Disney Plus. You just went and saw Into the Woods on Broadway.
I sure did. It was so yeah. I don't know why I did this to myself, but we drove down to Florida to Port Canaveral on Sunday to get on the boat on Monday, and then the Saturday before, I literally woke up at the buck crack of dawn, flew to New York. I had wanted to see Into the Woods so bad, bought tickets back when it was at the New York City Center, had to give them away because I was traveling that weekend for a work trip, and then decided I wanted to see it. So I woke up at the butt crack of dawn on Saturday, literally flew to New York, made it just in time to like queue to get in line to see the show, and then saw the matinee. Literally, this was the rudest thing I've ever done in a theater, where like literally Patina Miller sang the last note of Children Will Listen, and then they were doing bows, and my butt bolted. I had to bolt out of the theater during bows. I know, like, you know, they were backstage. Like, did you see that one queen running? Like, he had enough, but I had to, because it was an amazing show. I'm so glad that I got to see it. I didn't get to do anything else, essentially. It was literally plain. But I literally, so this is a funny tidbit of a story. But, you know, sometimes when, like when you're like in Manhattan, specifically deep in Manhattan, it like a cab ride can sometimes take you like 20 minutes to LaGuardia, and sometimes it can take an hour and 20 minutes to LaGuardia. There's absolutely no way of knowing. And so my flight was boarding, I think at 7:00. At this point it was like 5:11. Sorry, my plane was taking off at 7. I think it was boarding at 6. So I had like 49 minutes to make it there. So I get in this cab, and jokingly, because I was prepared. Like, I had already like looked while I was waiting for a cab. Like, I had already looked at like flights out of JFK, and sure enough, there were some later because I had to make it home that night to pack for the cruise we were leaving on the next morning. And so I knew that like I was going to make it home, but I was still really trying to make this flight out of LaGuardia. So I sit in the cab, and I jokingly say to the cab driver, if you can get me there and before 5:30, I'll give you $50. Patrick, when I tell you, I don't know, like, it was like I was so intrigued by the cab ride that I couldn't be terrified. This man, I had never seen someone weave in and out of traffic so I can't believe we didn't get pulled over by a cop. Like, we were steadily going 80 miles an hour through downtown Manhattan, and then like just weaving in and out of traffic to the airport. He got me there before 5:30, which it just in my mind seemed impossible. So he made $50 because I'm a man of my word. But it was I made it home in time, got home immediately, packed, went to bed, woke up, drove to Florida.
Amazing. And we're going to get into all of that later on in the episode, your trip on the Disney Wish. But before we do that, Kale, we have a lot to get through.
We do.
Prior to that. In fact, we have some listener feedback from our last episode. You were just saying how much fun we had, and we did have a lot of fun. And our Tweedles apparently had a lot of fun with us because they had some things to say. What do you say we get right into that Tweedle feedback?
I say we get right into it. First up is Kevin at Mr. Kevy Kevs on Instagram. I appreciated the charm of the Sanderson sisters, who kept their remarkable chemistry so well after all these years. The movie itself was wildly disappointing and felt like something you'd see on a Hocus Pocus ride queue at Disney World. After 30 years, I certainly wanted more. That actually is a hilarious thing to say,
wow.
Kevin. Yeah.
Dragging the movie.
I won't say that I think that any of that is incorrect. I think that those are valid opinions to have. You gave us reasons as opposed to saying I didn't like it, which is always respectful, right? So
fair.
So I understand that. I get the part about the Hocus Pocus ride queue. Sometimes the quality of like the queue technology or little snippets you see, sometimes I'm like, okay, they should have just put up a poster or something. But I 1000% get it, Mr. Kevy Kevs.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone's entitled to their opinions, no matter how wrong they are. JK. Moving on, we have Juan, who writes in from Instagram at Jedi Trousers, saying, loved the episode and the delightful chaos of this GDTD 4-way. Well, that sounds weird. I think I'm generally on the same page as you guys about Hocus Pocus 2, but oh boy, I still really wish it had been better. It made me laugh plenty of times, and of course I screamed to see the sisters come back, but it felt kind of self-conscious and awkward a lot of the time for me. However, the prologue with young Winifred was absolutely flawless. No notes. I'll take an entire film of that, please.
Yeah, I think all of that is good feedback as well. Also, at Jedi Trousers is a true gem of a person. If you don't follow him, you should go follow him. True story. So yeah, it turns out it's from a lot of our feedback that we've been getting, we enjoyed it a little bit more than our Tweedles did overall, it sounds like. Which has to be shocking for you, who comes on here and clubs these movies like they're baby seals or something. Sometimes. Because sometimes I'll be like, oh, I liked that movie. I can't wait to, prior to me being a co-host, back when I was just a pedestrian listener. Yeah. And then you're sort of like, I hated the opening credits. I had the main character. I had the music, the movement.
The only thing I enjoyed was the popcorn I had at the theater.
Yes.
Amazing.
Next up is Andy at Andy Heath Puppeteer, who is my new friend because he paid me compliments, and there is no greater secret to friendship than a compliment.
It's the only way to your heart.
Right. He said, generally loved it. Bet was her usual fantastic, endlessly energetic self, but I could have done without the ever so schmaltzy ending. Give me a quick second. I'm going to write down the word schmaltzy because it's mine now. We'll watch again before Halloween, though. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that there was the ending might have been the only part that I could have supported a rewrite. Even though I think it was touching, I think it was cool. To me, it wasn't as powerful as the ending to the first film. So I respect this opinion as well, Andy.
Yeah, fair enough. We didn't really talk about the ending because we were giving a spoiler-free review, but I imagine by now many of you have seen it at this point. And I kind of agree. The ending was fine, but it felt like they wrote it in 45 seconds of like, oh, we have to figure out an ending.
Yeah. I will agree with you completely. I think that there was sort of this, I mean, keep in mind, we didn't fall in love with them in the first film because they were great people, but I sort of felt like, you know, we are so oversaturated with media right now where main characters are very unlikable, right? And so I think that they almost saw that as an opportunity to like, oh, we need to give her a little bit of heart. And I would have been fine if they left that out. I didn't hate the ending, but I would have been fine if it would have ended similar to the first film in a way where it was like, okay, she got what was coming to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too. And I've said this before on the podcast. I like a villain who's just a villain. I don't need a villain to have a heart.
Who's a villain. Give me a villain who hides the remote, doesn't tell you where it is, watches you look for it, and says, I haven't seen it.
Wow, that was very specific. It feels like it was directly from your life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So Kale is the villain in this story.
That's right. There are people in there looking for that remote right now. And guess what? I haven't seen it.
It's in the freezer. I put it in the freezer. Moving on, we have Daniel at Daniel Hope UK, who simply says, so thrilled to have had these three back on our screens again.
Sums it up perfectly. Yeah, it's perfect. That is a perfect sentence. Go, Daniel.
I think that's sort of my sentiment of the movie overall, Hocus Pocus 2. It was like, it was just fun. It was just fun to see them again. That's all we wanted. We just wanted a revisit.
We just wanted to, even if it would have been like the plot to like Midsummer or what's that one really horrible movie? Cloverfield. If it had just been like the Sanderson sisters, I would have still watched it. You know what I mean? Or like Jiggly. Remember that movie Jiggly?
What a weird analogy. I like it. I'm here for it.
Next up is Allie. At Allie _joy_w on Instagram. I just wanted to say how much happiness I got on my way to work this morning listening to all of you be on an episode together. All of you are such special humans, and the joy you share together is contagious. Thank you for all you do, and for the Disney gift card drawing too. Oh, nice, Allie. As happy as I am listening to you all every week, I did want to call out Patrick on his terrible take about the Bengal barbecue at Disneyland. Patrick, you came in with some fighting words. That chicken skewer is simply the best. Seriously, though, thank you for the content you create and making this world a better place. If I ever need a pick-me-up from my hectic life as a teacher, girl, yeah, I know I can get a good laugh from all of you.
Okay, so number one, Allie, we love you. Thank you for being a teacher, and congratulations on winning the prize in our last episode. Number two, I think it's going to be when I die. This is going to be on my gravestone, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Here lies Patrick, hated Bengal barbecue, and it's never going to leave me, is it?
Yeah. It's the same with me in the state of California. My tombstone will read like, at least he's not buried there. Legit.
Wow.
That's what it was.
Wow. Fantastic. And rounding out our feedback, we have Sean at Sean Cruz on Instagram saying, great episode. Having the whole coven there was so entertaining, and it really showcased how everyone's personality and voice is unique and also fits perfectly with the vibe/brand of the pod.
Oh,
Sean, thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, I agree. I think that I kind of think we're all perfect. Like we're not like puzzle pieces that come together to make a perfect puzzle. We're perfect pieces that come together to make a mess. I'm just kidding. But,
yeah.
So I have to ask you, how hard was it editing that episode? Because I actually got anxiety for you.
Honestly, it was easier than I thought it was going to be because good. As you know, the conversation just flowed out of us. We didn't
It really did. There wasn't, I think, like in the beginning, there was this sort of like, we all were sort of self-conscious about talking over one another. And then like 3 minutes in, that went out the window.
Yeah.
Like it was
100%. Yeah. 100%. And to be clear, the Tweedles don't care about what we're saying anyways. Like we're not dropping gems here.
This is not A1 content. This is not steak sauce.
Right. It's not Pod Save America here. Right. We are just four idiots with opinions. That's all.
Right. If you want that, go to NPR.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so which is a good segue, actually. So thank you, first of all, to all of our Tweedles for giving that feedback. Keep it coming. We love hearing from you. It's our favorite thing in the world. But now we have to move on, and a little PSA for all of you Tweedles out there who are able to, y'all, there's an election coming up, and we need you to vote. Vote.
And I know you're not supposed to do this ethically, but I'm going to tell you all individually who to vote for. Stand by. I'm kidding.
Here's our list.
You should know.
Yes. It's true. Hashtag Stacey Abrams.
Yes.
I mean, let's be very clear. So for those of you who, for our American listeners here in the United States, November 8th, of course, is election day. It is our midterm elections. And I know this is a phrase that gets tossed around a lot, but now more than ever is a time that we need you to get out there and vote. There are actual lives at stake right now. There are actual freedoms at stake right now. It's a rough time in the world right now, and it's a rough time here in America as well.
Yeah, and you are correct, Patrick. That phrase might get tossed around a lot these days, but I feel like it just becomes more and more true every time we say
I know.
2020 sadly was like, this one really matters. 2016 was like, this one really matters. And so it's true, although overused.
Yeah. Not to sound too dramatic, and you've all heard it before, but democracy is literally at stake right now.
Right. Not to sound too dramatic either, but it could be the end of the freaking world. We're probably all going to die if this doesn't go how we want it to go. So
yeah.
You know what I mean?
That sounds accurate.
Like,
that's not
it's the end times or the beginning of times. We decide by voting.
Oh, stitch that on a pillow, won't you? It's so quaint and lovely.
I think so. It makes you feel right at home.
It really does. It really does. So if you are not yet registered to vote, there is still time please do so. Please register to vote and please get out there and vote. For information on voting, you can go to one of my favorite websites. I will say it is a little bit left-leaning. And when I say a little bit, it is very left-leaning, but it is votesaveamerica.com. They have a ton of resources regardless of your political stance. Or you can go to vote.gov to find out how to register to vote, what's on the ballot, what you need to do, what information you need to have to vote. Be educated, get out there, vote. That's all. That's all, right?
That's all.
That is all. Okay, so lightening things up a smidge. We had a birthday last time to celebrate, which was your birthday, Kale, but that's over now. Shut the door on your birthday. Yep. It's now JT's birthday. Happy birthday, JT.
Happy birthday, JT.
Born on October 30th, 1902, JT. Oh. What was that? That's not the right date.
I mean, you know what? That was premature of me to react that way because I don't know what year he was born. So I'm sorry. For all I know, you could be correct.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know what? Who cares how old anyone is?
Who cares? He's 1802. You're right. 1702.
Yeah.
You're right.
The original Sanderson sister.
Right. You're right. Born in 1502.
That's right. That's right. We love you, JT. We love you. We're so excited to have you here on the podcast and in our lives. Everyone, please reach out and wish JT a very happy birthday.
And as we celebrate the birth of JT, it is sad that we have to but must celebrate the life of one Angela Lansbury.
Aw, what a segue. What I bet you anything JT is like, man, all of my dreams have come true. A segue from me to Angela Lansbury.
Right. And now he gets to take over her place. You know what I mean? I don't look at JT without thinking of Angela Lansbury.
How can you? How
really can
you?
Yeah.
It's true though. So instead of, I proposed this to Kale and he was in full agreement. Instead of doing a This Week in Disney History, I felt it appropriate. We felt it here on the podcast appropriate to instead take a moment to celebrate the life, the extraordinary talents, the exuberance that was Angela Lansbury, who we sadly lost this October 11th, 2022.
Yes. I know. This one slapped really hard.
Yeah, it was. I mean, this whole year, I feel like there's been some really big oofs. So, as I said, Angela Lansbury did just recently pass away. We have to give a little send off to Angela Lansbury here on the podcast. I feel like because she was an extraordinary person, not only in the Disney community, not only in the world at large, but also to the gay community. She was a huge gay rights advocate, an icon in the gay community, though not queer herself. She really did celebrate and hold dear to her the gay community, if you will.
Yes, and she actually was a GDTD podcast listener. I did not hear that, but I dreamt it one time, and it was one of those like really realistic dreams, and so I do believe that it was true.
Yeah, fair. Fair enough. I know in my heart that she was definitely.
Oh, she did. Yeah,
definitely a listener. So Angela Lansbury, I imagine you all know who she is, but just some tidbits from her life. She was, of course, considered one of the very last of the golden age of cinema actors here in America and in the world, I guess, because she was born in central London. We can't really claim her as one of our own because she was born in London, as most proper people are.
Yes, as all the good ones.
Yeah. She was also a Disney legend, of course, and a Broadway. I don't know, is legend even the right word to describe her on Broadway?
I mean, there's not like a bigger word I can think of, but I feel like it's legend. It almost feels like an understatement when explaining Angela Lansbury.
Agreed. Most people know her, of course, as Jessica Fletcher in the iconic Murder, She Wrote. But her career beyond that, a lot of people don't even realize how epic her career actually was.
So, over the span of Angela Lansbury's career, she won 6 Tony Awards, 6 Golden Globe Awards, a Laurence Olivier Award, and she was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, 18 Emmy Awards, including 12 nominations in a row for Murder, She Wrote, and a Grammy Award. She exploded onto the screen at the age of 17 in the 1943 movie Gaslight, where she played an English maid. For her performance, she earned her first Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress.
I love that her very first role, which she was nominated for an Academy Award, was an English maid, which was also a role that she was maybe most famous for in Beauty and the Beast.
Right. Oh, I didn't even make that correlation. How about that? Right? What if in the movie Gaslight they tried to do that to her and they were like, you're a teapot, and she was like, no, clearly I'm a human English maid, and they were like, really? Because when we look at you, we see a teapot, and then it's just people coming from all. That is, I'm talking about the right movie, right? Isn't that the movie with the gaslight? And he keeps going, no, am I completely incorrect?
We're just going to leave it there and move on, because this is an astounding conversation that you're having with yourself.
No, but seriously, isn't the movie Gaslight? It's the one. It made the term gaslighting famous because isn't he like slowly dimming the lights, and she's like, the lights in here are so dim, and he's like, no, they're not. They're the same. It's the same brightness it's been the whole time, and she's like, are you friggin' sure? Because it's pretty dim in here. I can't see anything. And then he's like, no, it's you. You're going mad. You're going crazy.
So this is a good send-off for Angela Lansbury. So thank you, Kale, for your contributions here.
Are you trying to gaslight me?
Yep, 100%.
Or did I actually make real contributions?
Oh my gosh, can we get back on track, please?
Yes. She won her first Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1945 for her role in The Picture of Dorian Gray.
I'm not going to lie to you, Kale. I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to edit all of this together, and I think I'm just going to keep it all in.
Oh, of course you are. Yep. Of course. You've never taken anything out that I wanted you to. At least now you're honest about it. So
100%.
Right.
100%. So moving on, as we said before, she was also, beyond her career on film, she was also constantly surrounded by gay men, which she loved. In fact, fun fact, her very first husband was Richard Cromwell, who, turns out, was gay. And after their divorce, they remained very close friends. And I feel like that sort of started her love and affection for the gay community. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I imagine, it's obviously today, it's a sort of a different time, but at the time she cared about him and probably became his biggest ally. You know what I mean? Like she probably, there probably was an understanding she had for the situation that at the time was unheard of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So over the next 15 years of her career, she appeared in heaps and heaps of movies, TV shows, and a few Broadway musicals, but more often than not as a supporting character, and usually playing much, much older than she actually was. It was kind of a joke in Hollywood that she was 20 and playing 80, basically.
Right.
It was bananas. So then in 1962, she earned another Academy Award nomination for her role in The Manchurian Candidate, which really sort of put her star on the map in Hollywood. It was a brilliant performance. If you have not seen it, please go watch her performance in The Manchurian Candidate. It's astounding. So, however, in that movie, she again played a woman who was much older than she actually was. In fact, her son in the movie was the same age as she was.
That's my favorite thing when that happens. It would go one way or the other for me. I'd forever be like the 18-year-old rebellious teenager, or I'd be his grandpa.
I feel like this only happens to women, though, in Hollywood.
It
where they're
absolutely does.
You know what? You're over the age of 25, so now you play grandmothers.
Right. No, it's Meryl Streep always said the reason that she turned down playing a witch for so long was because when she turned 40, she got 6 scripts, and all of them were to play a witch, and she never played a witch until Into the Woods.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Thank you. Thank you for that full circle Into the Woods reference. I really appreciate that.
You are welcome.
So speaking of Broadway, in the 1960s and 70s, Angela Lansbury spent most of her time on the stage, and thank goodness. In 1966, she won her first Tony Award playing Mame Dennis in the musical Mame. She also won Tony Awards for her roles in Dear World in 1969, Gypsy in 1975. Oh my gosh, if I could have seen that, I would have died a happy person.
I know.
She won an award for Sweeney Todd in 1979, and then her last Tony Award was for her performance in Blithe Spirit in 2009.
So obviously, I think that my first introduction to Angela Lansbury was more than likely Beauty and the Beast, but I don't think as a kid I understood it was her voicing the teapot, right, Mrs. Potts?
Oh, fair, yeah.
But I would say that my first like full-on introduction to her was Sweeney Todd. I watched Sweeney Todd an inappropriate amount of times as a child. Like should not have been watching it, but I remember being absolutely mesmerized by her and doing the worst pies in London in the shower every day.
It's iconic, though. I mean, you sort of that role. God bless any woman who plays that role on Broadway or in movies or what have you, because you kind of cannot replicate or better what she did in Sweeney Todd.
No, you absolutely can't. This sort of fully unhinged, but it's still somehow realistic. Do you know what? Like realistically unhinged is the hardest thing to do. I manage to every day, but it's still like, you know, it's she's perfect. That she made that show what it is, hands down.
Yeah. To play a likable murderer, basically, in like someone you're rooting for, you're like, yeah, kill him.
Yeah. Yes, honestly, bake his ass into the pie. Like you're rooting for it. Like you're like, get him. Get it. Well done. You know what I mean?
You sort of question your own morality when you see her performance in Sweeney Todd.
Absolutely. I mean, I question my own morality, like when I'm not watching Sweeney Todd, but Sweeney Todd specifically, you're right. I am sort of like, also, I don't know how to cook, but if I could, I would probably relate to her more.
I'm astounded by the amount of times you've turned this story about Angela Lansbury into a story about Kale. It's pretty astounding.
Kale is also a ingredient you can cook with.
Oh boy. Okay, so moving on. In 1971, she, of course, gained popularity with the Disney crowd with her performance in Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and of course, for one of her most, maybe actually her most iconic roles
as Mrs.
Potts. Yeah, as Mrs. Potts in 1991's Beauty and the Beast, and very fittingly, one of her very final performances was as the Balloon Lady in Mary Poppins Returns.
Which was such a treat. An absolute treat. Yes. You know, she was originally considered for the role of Mary Poppins.
She was
Yep.
Indeed. There was, I feel like we could do a whole episode about the casting of Mary Poppins and what happened around it and why it was cast the way it was.
Yes, absolutely we could. Because her and Julie Andrews famously got into a fist fight.
This is not true. None of this is true.
Very famously that happened. You can watch it on World Star Hip Hop.
And I guess with that sentence, we say goodbye to Angela Lansbury. Kale, that was the very last thing that you said about Angela Lansbury. It was a lie.
Oh no, that's the worst send-off ever. I lied on her. I'm ladies and gentlemen, I would like to apologize for my disrespectful send-off to Angela Lansbury. She never punched Julie Andrews. Julie Andrews did lay hands, but Angela Lansbury was a lady and refused to reciprocate.
Oh boy. How am I going to edit this episode? I have no idea.
I'm sorry.
It's just all over the map. Well, in all honesty and all sincerity, Angela Lansbury.
This one really stung. This was.
There we go. Yeah.
This was. Yeah. I mean, it just. You know. She went the way that I think we all sort of hoped to go, right? Having an amazing career and having made a difference to a lot of people, and but it just doesn't make it any easier, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. Do yourselves a favor, everybody, go out there and watch some videos of her amazing performances on stage, on the silver screen, in TV shows. She was a true icon and a cinematic hero. So we send you off with love, Angela Lansbury.
I love you, Angela Lansbury.
And with that, we segue into the news. I have no idea how. We send you all off with love and respect into the news. I don't know. How do we get
into the news? It's we will miss Angela Lansbury, but it is a news day.
Wow. That was epic.
It was no better than yours. It was no better than yours.
No, it certainly wasn't.
No better than yours. Okay.
No.
Patrick.
Yes, Kale.
Are you ready for the news?
I really never am, but here we are.
Okay, well, guess what?
What?
Walt Disney World has announced that Fantasmic will be returning to Disney's Hollywood studios on November 3rd. The larger-than-life open-air nighttime musical will feature a brand new show sequence. Thank goodness, said everyone, but not publicly on social media for fear of weird public backlash and shame. Through this entire sequence, you will be taken on a journey with your favorite heroes, a radical change from every other Disney show you've ever seen, which tend to focus heavily on the dark dystopia the world is and its ever-growing threat to our personal well-being and mental health. Aladdin will be performing stunts, because why TF not? Elsa will perform a set of the song Show Yourself, which was specifically built in as a time for adults to refill their bevies as children sing along with her in upwards of 5 million different keys. And other fun scenes, including Moana and Mulan, in which I can only imagine is an MMA fight to the death sequence. Dining packages for Fantasmic will begin at $49 and will be offered at 5 different Hollywood studio restaurants: the 50s Primetime Slime Mime Cafe, Hollywood Dollywood and Vine What's My Line, Mama's Melrose Restaurant Italiano, sister restaurant to Papa Pemberton's Restaurant Italian, Sci-Fi Ham and Cheese on Rye Dine-In Theater, and the Hollywood Brown Ascot Opening Day Derby. There is currently no information regarding the removal of the Virginia Company sequence, which was my personal least favorite thing in existence, aside from people who run down mountains. Let's not be a show-off. But inside sources have confirmed that the characters Pocahontas, John Smith, and Governor Radcliffe will not be played by Home Alone 3-star Scarlett Johansson. In response to this, ScarJo gave the following statement: "I'm devastated. Pocahontas is actually the one story where I could finally, in fact, play a tree."
Huh. It's increasingly harder and harder to suss out what is actual news and what is Kale's dark mind.
Because I tell it so convincingly. So
convincingly.
I'm the fake news that everybody's been talking about. It's me.
You really are. True story, though. Super excited about the changes that they're making in Fantasmic.
Same, honestly. I mean, prior to Walt Disney World even closing and sort of having to close Fantasmic, I thought it needed an upgrade for a long time. Not necessarily a visual upgrade, but as far as the story elements are, it's always been weird to me that the Virginia Company is like the main sequence in that show.
While it was kind of cool to watch and kind of the only place you can really see Pocahontas representation throughout the parks, it was oddly placed in Fantasmic.
It was very oddly placed. And also, sometimes I feel like they go way overboard with their live action remakes. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, let's rein it in a little bit. I feel like Pocahontas is one of those where they absolutely should. They should take the opportunity to sort of make it right. Yeah. Pocahontas is a great movie. It has amazing music. The visuals are stunning. However, it is very, very historically inaccurate, right? I feel like
it's culturally inappropriate.
Oh, it absolutely it very much is. Very much is.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for there to be more Pocahontas representation, we need a live action Pocahontas that is true to the story, right? Regardless of how hard it might be to watch. You know what I mean? And so I kind of feel like let that happen. Then let's do more Pocahontas representation in the parks. Because when I see the Virginia Company segment, I'm just sort of like, yeah, that didn't happen. But you know what I mean? And also give us the real ending for Governor Radcliffe, where he was absolutely brutally murdered and should have been. But anyway.
Maybe, here's an idea. Maybe they can do that and then put a Pocahontas show in Animal Kingdom in the amphitheater there.
Yes, they absolutely should. I would watch it.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do? Watch Kite Tales again?
I know, right? Here's what I need. I need a live action remake of Pocahontas that is true to history, right? Not culturally inappropriate, but keeps in Just Around the River Bend and Colors of the Wind, right? Forget that raccoon because he's just annoying, right? Give me the hummingbird because they're awesome. You know what I mean? How do you even survive when your nose is a needle? And so it's that's mesmerizing in itself. And then give me Grandmother Willow. Everything else, redo.
We still need the gay representation of Percy the dog, though.
Oh, you're correct. We do. And he's a French bulldog, right? And
I believe so.
Scientifically, I'm being serious. There is proof in this pudding. Scientifically, all French bulldogs are gay.
And that is our story about Phantasmic.
Thank you so much.
This past October 11th, Disney introduced a new collection of experiences at the Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C. The event was held in collaboration with Starlight Children's Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to delivering joy to seriously ill children and their families. It being October, Hispanic Heritage Month, the unveiling of the hospital's new Disney collection had an Encanto theme, with a video message from the cast of Encanto, a sing-along with the Children's National Hospital music therapist, an art class with a Walt Disney Animation Studios artist, a screening of Encanto on the hospital's new mobile movie theater screen, and families at the hospital received Encanto-themed products, including games, toys, costumes, and books.
I think this is amazing.
I love these stories so much. So the upgrade to the Children's Hospital in D.C. was part of Disney's 5-year, $100 million commitment to reinvent the patient and family experience in children's hospitals worldwide. The hospital received interactive installments, murals, play spaces, and personalized Disney-themed care packages, including hospital clothing and bedding to help individualize and brighten a patient's stay. All of this, including movie screenings and access to Disney Plus, is intended to provide comfort during an anxious time for children and their caretakers. Disney currently supports more than 700 hospitals worldwide through this initiative. To learn more about the Disney Children's Hospital Initiative, you can visit impact.disney.com. And speaking of initiatives, through Disney's Workforce Development Initiative, Disneyland recently announced $1.5 million in grants to local nonprofits and schools. The grants will go toward programs that prep high school students with networking skills, resume building, interview techniques, and programs that match students with mentors already working in the field. Over the past 5 years, through this initiative, Disney has donated $5.5 million, which supports 19 nonprofits in the Anaheim area alone. Over 300 Disney cast members have volunteered over 2,000 hours of their time, which has impacted over 10,000 Anaheim students and residents.
Very well done. To you for reporting that news, and also Disney for making it news.
I really put myself out there by reporting this news, and I feel like I've made a difference in the world.
You have. This actually wasn't even in the works until you reported this story. And now they're sort of like, well, now we're going to do it. So
you're welcome.
You're welcome. Everybody. So I know sometimes it is frustrating to you that I don't take my news stories completely seriously. And so I just want you to know that I'm fully into this one, and no shenanigans. Okay.
Okay. Buckle up, everybody.
All right. Attention, all you rucking funners. Run Disney has revealed the medal designs for the upcoming 2023 Disney Princess Half Marathon, or, for you pessimists out there, a marathon that didn't quite hit the 0.5 mark. Weekend, presented by Corksicle. The 2023 Disney Princess Half Marathon will take place on anniversary weekend from February 23rd to February 26th, 2023. The medal reveals are as follows, : the Disney Princess 5K featuring Jasmine running from Raja, as he is and always was a tiger and a bad choice for a pet. The Disney Princess Enchanted 10K featuring Belle, funny that she decides all of a sudden she can run now. The Disney Princess Half Marathon featuring Moana, this medal actually came correct. And the Disney Fairy Tale Challenge featuring everyone's favorite gal on the lucky upswing, Cinderella. So I know that I mocked a lot of that. These medals actually are awesome. These are probably the coolest Disney run, like the Princess Run medals that I've ever seen.
Yeah. They're beautiful.
They're absolutely gorgeous.
The art behind them, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
someone came correct.
They did. Yeah, they did. No, like, I mean, for all of them, the Moana one specifically is gorgeous. I wasn't just like joking about that, but all of them are actually really pretty. The one of Belle running in her dress and her hair is sort of caught in the wind, like it's actually kind of fierce.
Mm-hmm.
So I've actually, the Princess Run is the one of them that I've always wanted to do, and I've never done it.
Yeah, same here. It is literally the only one that I've never done before.
Well, you are a misogynist at heart, and so it would make sense to me that you stick to the Star Wars run.
Yeah. No. All right, R.I.P. Star Wars run. Too soon. It is. I'm sorry. Rounding out the news, Wakanda podcast would this be if we didn't talk about the new Black Panther experiences coming to Disneyland? I couldn't even get through the sentence.
No, but it was perfect. It was perfectly executed. I was not expecting it at all.
Thank you so much. So starting this November 11th and running through January 8th, that's an arbitrary date, 2023, you'll be able to encounter new characters from Wakanda forever, taste Wakandan-inspired food, view props and costumes from the movie, and take a cute selfie with Black Panther art installations. Avengers Campus in Disney's California Adventure is inviting guests to witness the introduction of the next warrior, taking on the title of Black Panther. During this time, M'Baku, the leader of the Jabari clan, will lead an all-new experience sharing the culture of the Jabari clan through chants and percussion in The Way of the Jabari. Nearby, in the Hollywood backlot, guests are encouraged to experience traditional African dishes at the Flavors of Wakanda Marketplace. There, you can order peri-peri chicken, the interestingly named Butterfly PT Lemonade, that's PEA, the vegetable, and mafa, a ground peanut stew with sweet potatoes, tomatoes, and black-eyed peas. And, of course, you'll be able to purchase all the Black Panther merch you can handle in the Superstore in Hollywoodland and in downtown Disney. As I said, all of this and more will be available November 11th through January 8th, so be sure to check it out. Yep. I did that.
You've become increasingly more hilarious at the news since I joined. I take credit for it. I do.
I'm really just embracing like dad bod and dad humor in my life these days.
Dad bod, you're probably one of the most active people I know. Don't you run like a marathon every morning?
I've never run a marathon in my life.
Oh, well, we'll get to it, dude. What on earth?
Ahoy there, Kale.
Ahoy there, PK.
I feel like that threw you strangely. I don't know why.
It did. Sorry, it did. I wasn't expecting it. But
Fair.
ahoy.
Ahoy to all of our Tweedles. Kale, I am very excited to talk about your very first trip report here on the podcast. And not just any trip report, Kale. You just got back from the newest ship in the Disney Cruise Line, the Disney Wish.
Insane. Yes, I'm excited about my first full trip report, and also the fact that I did something you have not, which is very rare. It's very rare.
Fair enough. In fact, I have actually never in my life been on a cruise at all, let alone a Disney cruise. But you, I believe, have been on a Disney cruise before, so this is not your first walk around the block, right?
Yeah, so this would actually be this is my second. We did actually the very same week of 2021, we did a 4-day cruise on the Disney Dream, which was also amazing. It was a little bit different, only because when we originally booked the cruise in 2021, it was while COVID cases were sort of down. And so I think that was why we all felt comfortable. But then, of course, by the time the cruise rolled around, cases were sort of up again. But Disney had very, very strict and awesome rules in place, in my opinion, where you had to test prior to getting on the boat, like at the when you were getting ready to sort of board the ship. You had to test, and then when you tested negative and you were clear to sail, literally the directions were like, get out of the car, don't talk to anybody, don't come in contact with anybody who's not going to be on the boat, and then just make it on the boat. Yeah, but I mean, it made you feel safe and like important. You know what I mean? And so and then also there was a huge mask mandate, which I again was all here for. Anytime you were dining or seeing a show, you had to keep your mask on unless you were eating, and unless you were of course on the top deck, you were allowed to take it off, or if you were on Castaway Cay for the day or in Nassau for the day, you also got to remove your mask. And it was also at 1/4 capacity, meaning, I mean, that's unheard of. I'll never go on a cruise again where there's 1/4 of the people there that it can hold. Yeah. And so I actually was a little bit nervous because, we got to pretty much experience anything we wanted to on the Dream, right? Because of the capacity restraint. And so there was a little bit of anxious energy, oh my gosh, are we going to go on this one? And because it's a brand new ship and because it's no longer at 1/4 capacity, are we going to be waiting in line for things like we essentially would at a Disney park, right?
Yeah.
And so that did make me a little nervous going into it.
Rightfully so. So all of what you just described was your trip on the Disney Dream. So now walk us through what sort of boarding was. Let's just get into it. What was boarding like this time around on the Disney Wish, now being mandates are a little bit more lax around the world, really, and I imagine still on these cruise ships. What was it like just getting on the ship initially?
Yeah, so this time, in order to sail, you did have to either be fully vaccinated or you had to test getting on the ship. So it made it a little bit easier for us because everybody in my party, which I went with Mark and Roger, the Steamboat Willies, and then also my partner Steve, and all of us were fully vaccinated. So it was essentially as easy as us going in, parking in the parking deck, getting out with our luggage, and going right to through security. And so you do have like an assigned time where it can be like, for the most part, because we were going with Mark and Roger, all of our stuff was essentially the same time, right? Like they do that on purpose. They try to make it convenient. So we got there, I would say probably noon, and we didn't have to wait very long before it was they had called our boarding number to board, and then essentially when they called our boarding number to board, we were like on the ship. Like we made it through security and all the checkpoints, and then we're on the boat within a couple minutes. I would say it was less than maybe 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. It moved insanely fast. And then, of course, when you're getting on the boat, they have the cast members there who are getting ready to announce you to the rest of the ship, which is always so much fun, right? Yeah. You get this brief, like 5-second thrill of celebrity until you hear them also call out the person's name behind you. And you're like, oh, I'm just a normal guy.
Yeah. Turns out.
Yeah, and then you board the ship, and nobody can see this, but I will show you, Patrick. They hand you your magic wish wand.
Cute.
Right? And then they have a fairy godmother, not the fairy godmother, sort of come out, and in unison, you wave your wands to activate the ship, which feels very, very, also makes you feel powerful until you realize they do it with the next group of 20 people as well. And you're sort of like, oh, okay. So I had no special part in that. And so then you essentially, you go to your room. We always make sure that in our carry-on, we have like a bathing suit, and we have, like a change of clothes and things like that, because you're not really guaranteed what time your luggage is going to arrive to your stateroom. And so, we got to the stateroom, your keys are outside the door. They make it insanely easy. You do have to briefly meet like with your, I guess, I don't even know what the official word for it is, but your cast member that's going to walk you through like your like onboarding security or like, I guess, in case of emergency type training. I will say that Disney is not very strict about that, because essentially all you have to do is scan the sign on your Disney Cruise Line app, and then and that's sort of what they tell you to do. Oh, just scan here, and then there's not really like a strict walkthrough, which was shocking to me the first time we went, and it was even more shocking to me this time when we went, because I thought one of the reasons why they probably did that last time was just to avoid a crowd, right? But no, I have learned that is what they do every Disney cruise. You essentially scan the picture, and then they're like, okay, you know exactly what to do in the case of an emergency. Have fun.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it. So you're on the ship. What were your first thoughts, sort of, I guess, aesthetically of the ship as compared to the Disney Dream?
Okay, so the Disney Wish was massive. I remember thinking that the Disney Dream was also massive, but I mean, I don't think I was prepared. When you walked in, the centerpiece chandelier, and then obviously the centerpiece statue of Cinderella and Lucifer and little Gus Gus peeking out from underneath her dress. And there was even a stage. I don't remember, I could be wrong, so don't come for me. I don't remember the Disney Dream having like an actual stage in like the main sort of like entrance area. And so, I mean, aesthetically, it was overwhelming. Like, it was absolutely stunning to look at. Like, you felt like you were walking into like a 5-star hotel resort even. Like, the fact that it was a ship, it was sort of like, what? You know? Mm-hmm. I mean, and everything, and it could just be because it's all so new. Everything was just immaculately clean. I mean, you had the feeling sort of even like you were on a brand new ship. I will say that they talked a lot because we had obviously prepared ourselves by, watching videos and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I knew that the layout of this ship was supposed to be somewhat vastly different than the layout of other ships. I'm not going to lie to you. I never really got that feeling, but that's in large part because I never learned how to navigate the Disney Dream. I mean, literally the last day, like I remember having to like research how to get off the ship the same way I got on it. Right. I'm the worst person with stuff like that. I could get lost at a Holiday Inn, like no joke. And so that part to me, I actually think probably because I was so self-conscious about getting lost on the boat that I actually learned to navigate the Wish way easier than I ever did the Disney Dream.
Got it.
Yeah, as aesthetically, it was absolutely stunning.
Amazing. I imagine. I've only seen pictures, but I imagine it's one of those things where a picture doesn't do it any justice, right?
It did not. I mean, even the entrance video where they were sort of announcing and like showing you all the different restaurants and cool locations. It looked stunning there. Visually, I mean, it was absolutely breathtaking.
I'm imagining you sort of having your Kate Winslet in the big hat reveal looking up at the ship.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I even had the dress on and then got on the ship and in the center of the room, shablammed.
Fantastic. So I imagine, I guess I can't speak for all of our Tweedles, but most of us probably have not gone on a Disney cruise yet before. So I'm excited to hear all about your adventures. So I guess walk us through what sort of a typical day on a Disney cruise ship is like.
Okay, so there are several restaurants that serve breakfast. They're sort of like quick service restaurants aside from like the main dining halls or dining restaurants where you could grab breakfast, grab coffee. We did that for the most part, but there were a couple days where we would actually go to like breakfast at 1923 or something like that to actually have a sit down sort of breakfast experience. And then when we were for the days at sea, which are essentially where you're not docked anywhere, it's just the boat in the ocean. It's absolutely incredible. I know that Steve and I actually woke up. We rode the Aqua Mouse, which is considered the first ever at sea attraction.
Yeah.
Will not lie to you, it was a lot of fun. The Aqua Mouse was a lot of fun. On the Disney Dream, they have the Aqua Duck, which is Donald Duck themed. That to me was a tiny bit more thrilling. I remember it sort of, there was a lot of like going up and going down, and it felt more like a ride. This actually did feel more like a dark ride attraction. A lot of it, the beginning of it was essentially you watching a like Mickey Mouse short. And while things are happening, you're getting like squirted with water as opposed to like splashing with water and then at the end of the ride for probably the last 15 seconds, you are on sort of like a fairly high speed, like raft tubing experience. And then it's over. Super, super cool. If I ever went back on it, I would obviously ride it again. I think I had maybe built it up in my head that it was going to be a little bit better than it really was. But yeah, between the two, I would say the Aqueduct wins. But that's just because it was more thrilling.
So explain it a little bit more. Is there animation in the tube itself while you're going on the slide, basically? In
the beginning, yes. So you're sort of, when you start off, you're sort of on a slow moving conveyor belt. And then when you get into the tube, it goes a little bit quicker. And so we rode it once on 2 different days. So the first one was, the short was essentially, they were somewhere, like winter based, I guess. And there was like it was essentially like, everything is melting, which is very woke. Mm-hmm. And then, and so essentially it's like you're getting squirted with water while you're going up on this sort of like incline, and you're watching the cartoons happen on different screens throughout like the dark portion of the ride. And then the second day it was Mermaid Lagoon, which essentially was Mickey and Donald trying to find mermaids that were Minnie and Daisy, right? And so that one to me was really cool because there was like a chase scene like with the squids, and so when the squid is like running, you're getting shot with water. And so I mean it was really, really cool. I could see why they call it the first at-sea attraction, because it was a full experience. But I just wish it had been a tiny bit more thrilling. But it was nice. The wait time for it wasn't insane, which was crazy to me because we were no longer at 1/4 capacity like we were on the Disney Dream. That was actually shocking in the sense that I was prepared for this to be a typical Disney trip in the sense of you had to wait around to do anything. I was shocked to learn that was really not the case. A lot of times you sort of got to do what you wanted to do. You might have waited 5 minutes more than we did on the Dream last year, but it actually was not awful. I don't remember, a time where waiting kept us from doing anything that we wanted to do. I actually don't recall waiting that much in general. It was actually shocking. And so then after we'd get off the Aquamouse, we'd find some chairs, we'd lay out by the pool, soak up the sun. I put my headphones in, listened to Into the Woods because I was fresh off from that as well. and you'd have your cocktails. There was a different cocktail of the day every day. I tried every single one of them and then wasn't sure, so I tried every single one of them again.
Perfect.
But yeah, it was incredible. And then, we played a lot of trivia. There are different like games and stuff that are played at different bars throughout, which I think we were told there's 24 bars total. I think we maybe went into like 5.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah. And so, we played a lot of trivia. We did not win this time. Last time we won a couple times, but I mean, it was a blast. And then we were actually on the second dinner rotation, which dinner began at 8:15. There were 3 restaurants, the 1923, which was absolutely amazing, based off of like old animation and the like sort of golden era of Hollywood. There was the Arendelle restaurant, which was obviously Frozen themed, also had some amazing food. And then there also was the World of Marvel restaurant, which was very awesome to sit in. Also had amazing food and drinks. And then after that, we would sort of find like another trivia to go to and then sort of call it a night.
I love it. Awesome. So I guess let's stick with the food theme here, since you talked about restaurants last in that day. How were the meals? And you said that it was good food. So walk us through maybe what the meal experience is like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Are they included, or is it something you pay for separately? How does all that work?
So it absolutely can be included. I think that Marceline's, which is sort of the quick service, like sort of buffet, but not really, because you don't really put anything on your plate. They sort of do it for you, right? But that's sort of, I would say, like a breakfast and lunch spot if you didn't want to go to one of the sit down dining experiences. And those Marceline's was completely included in your cost of the cruise. It was the same for breakfast, the same for dinner. There were certain little places where you could go if you wanted something specific and sort of pay and have it charged to your stateroom account. But for the most part, I would say all food was covered, except for like they had the Joy's Sweet Shop, which was an Inside Out themed sort of Goofy's Candy Company, if you will.
Okay.
Stuff like that, obviously, you paid for on your own.
Sure.
But no, and let me tell you, it's a great thing that it's all included, but also just a personal decline, because there's a sense when you sit down for dinner and you're like, oh, this is free, and you eat yourself into an absolute coma. I mean, that happened every night at dinner. And I remember it happening last year as well, and telling myself this time, like, you're not going to do that. You're not going to go to bed miserable. Yeah, every single night I went to bed feeling like I was absolutely going to bust. So at 1923, I think, which ended up being my favorite restaurant, that was the restaurant we went to on the very last night. There was a Italian flat parsley and rosemary crusted rack of lamb that I became silent because my body started to literally experience the food Like, I mean, it was almost like a drug, but absolutely phenomenal. There was a Hyperion 4-cheese tricolor tortellini as an appetizer that I had that was also just completely out of this world amazing. I remember at the World of Marvel, I think I started off with an iceberg wedge, which sounds very basic. The most incredible iceberg wedge I've ever had in my entire life. For my entree there, I'm pretty sure I had the golden mystic pasta, which was caramelized scallops, angel hair pasta, and sort of a like Chardonnay lemon saffron cream sauce. Absolutely incredible. Like just, I mean, the food on this ship was just, gosh, like I couldn't get enough of it. I did sort of feel like we might have made a tiny bit of a mistake, but I loved it in general. But so I actually don't know this. So if a listener actually does know, feel free to correct me. So we were there for Halloween on the high seas, and there's always a pirate night. The pirate night menu is always the same every ship, every cruise that you go on. It's amazing food. Like I sort of had this seafood pasta that had like scallops and shrimp and you know, all kinds of seafood in it. And it was remarkable. But because of that, because our Arendelle night fell on Pirate Night, we didn't actually get the Arendelle menu. Does that make sense? We got the Pirate Night menu. And so we were actually scheduled to be at Arendelle 2 nights, but one of the nights we wanted to see one of the shows, which I will probably talk about later. But we wanted to see one of the shows, so we actually opted to just sort of do like a room service dinner night and then go to the show. So we actually did miss out on the official like Arendelle menu. We still got to dine there for Pirate Night, which was awesome. But looking back, I kind of wish we would have gotten to try it, but it was a perfect night, so there are no regrets. But the food is the thing that will get you. Like it was absolutely, I mean, it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because you know you've already paid for it, so you can order as many entrees, as many appetizers, as many desserts, anything as you want. And so you do that to yourself. Do you know what I mean? But and then all 4 of us were like, oh, if I get this, will you try a little bit of this? Well, then that never happens. So you all end up with 3 entrees and you eat every single one of them. And you go to bed and you're just like, oh, but the food is definitely, in my opinion, the highlight of a Disney cruise. I mean, it's just incomparable.
Which is interesting because you don't usually think, I don't anyways, usually think of Disney as being really good food. Like you just...
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I always go on a Disney trip and go, there is food there. And sometimes it's fine, but you just sort of eat what's available.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Well, and even like at Marceline's, which is sort of like the quick service lunch place, I would say that's typical food at a Walt Disney World resort or park. Like it's grilled chicken that tastes like grilled chicken. Do you know what I mean? Or it's like, it's fingerling potatoes that taste like fingerling potato. Like there's nothing special about it. It's a very, very basic meal. It doesn't mean it's horrible, but it's true to like what you and I've always talked about Disney food being like. The actual like sit down dining experiences specifically for dinner really are just, I mean, it's amazing food. Like you can't get enough of it until you've literally had enough of it. And then it's am I about to capsize this boat? Right.
So you sort of touched on this, but explain it a little bit more. How do reservations work on the ship? You said there are 3 basically main sit down restaurants. And you can't just go to one. You have to have a reservation, right?
Well, so it's not really done in the form of reservation. What happens is when you book the cruise, you're automatically guaranteed that you're going to have dinner at one of those restaurants each night. So our cruise was a 4-day cruise, which was why we were assigned Arendelle 2 nights. Now, the way that works is because we had sort of booked with Mark and Roger, we had like a joined reservation sort of, even though the reservations were separate, they knew we were coming there as a package, right? And so all of our dinner restaurants were assigned the same. All of our dinner times were assigned the same. But you don't really know your like dinner itinerary until you board the ship. And then it sort of is all uploaded into your Disney Cruise Line app.
Got it.
And then the way it works is your wait staff, who are absolutely amazing. Both times now we've had really amazing wait staff at the restaurants, they follow you as well. So your wait staff at, what was the first one we went to? World of Marvel was our same wait staff when we went to Arendelle, same wait staff when we went to 1923. I mean, they're even for breakfast. If you go to the restaurant for breakfast, that's your assigned wait staff. And so, yeah, it's amazing. But so no, there are no reservations needed. You're guaranteed to eat at each restaurant on a different night the second you book the cruise. Now, there are exceptions to that. This is, I think for the Disney Wish, it was called Enchanté. I know that on the Disney Dream, it was called Palo, which is sort of like a fine dining experience that you can make a reservation for. That's not included in the price. That is you sort of paying big bucks for a meal. And I remember doing it at Palo on the Disney Dream. It was absolutely amazing. I think to me, it was not just above and beyond the meals we had already paid for when we booked the trip. And so I think that's sort of why we opted to not do that this time. It also may have just been crazy difficult to do it this time as well, because the ship was at full capacity. But yeah, so it's not a reservation system like if you were trying to eat at a restaurant at Walt Disney World. You're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to eat at each individual restaurant when you book.
That's cool. That's good to know. It is interesting that you get the same staff, but it makes total sense in that then they sort of get to know your tastes and what you like, and safety wise, they know what you're allergic to and what you can and cannot have. So it makes absolute sense to me.
Yes. And it also, I mean, you get to know them so well that at the end of the cruise, when it comes time to, tip everyone, rate everybody, give your compliments to each, it makes it easier to do that because you do feel like you know them. You know what I mean? Like you've sort of gotten to know them at dinner the past 4 nights or whatever. And so, yeah, I think that's awesome. And that was actually a surprise to me the first time we went. I was not expecting for them to follow us around, but yeah, they sort of deserve that recognition. I've worked at restaurants before and never learned the full menu. These people know 4 different menus, right? And sometimes for breakfast even. So, I mean, double it, but that's super cool how the staff sort of follows you and takes care of you each night throughout the cruise.
Yeah, good to know. Good to know. All right, so let's move on from that into entertainment. You mentioned there was quite a lot to do on the ship. So walk us through what you did and what you thought about it, and just jump right in.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start off by saying that I think that the Disney parks, which I understand, it's all one company, but I feel like the parks could actually take a note from Disney Cruise Lines when it comes to diversity and inclusion. The first night we were there, we saw the Disney Sees the Adventure show, which is not really like a Die Hard storyline. It was like Goofy having to take the helm of the ship while Minnie was off doing something. And so he obviously gets into a lot of Goofy trouble and then, encounters, other Disney characters throughout the way. And I have to tell you, it was absolutely amazing. And reassuring when the audience's reaction was incredible as well. When Elsa turned around and was an Elsa of color. And the audience immediately started clapping because I think nobody was quite expecting it. And obviously she sang Elsa the House Down Boots, right? And Elsa to end them all. She was absolutely incredible. There were also there was a Hercules sequence. But that show actually was really entertaining. Even though it's just sort of a vignette, intro to the ship, right? This is what you have to look forward to, that kind of thing.
So was this on a stage or was this?
Yes.
Or where's this?
Sorry. It was at the Walt Disney Theater, which from my understanding, I could be wrong. I think each Disney Cruise Line ship has a Walt Disney Theater, which is essentially where these shows take place. I want to say the Dream also had another theater. I could be wrong about that, but I will research and then let everybody know. Okay, so the second night was A Treasure Untold, Disney's The Little Mermaid, which also featured an Ariel of color. Amazing. And an Ursula of color. And I mean, this was an insanely diverse cast. So I'm going to try to not waste a lot of time because I could talk about live theater for a long time, right? So there've been a lot of, productions of The Little Mermaid, the onstage musical. And I've always felt like one of the things that it lacked and why it's never been a true hit is because it lacks a lot of innovation. It also tries to go above and beyond what we really need. This was a production that was cut down to an hour because it had to be, right? Specifically with a lot of children, and they couldn't expect to do a full-length musical. But it was done in the form of sort of like Pippin in a way. It was these people that were on a beach, found a treasure chest, found all these props, and wanted to tell the story of the Little Mermaid, right? And I mean, it was absolutely amazing. She had a red tint to her hair. She had a purple top on that sort of looked like a beach top, and then the tail was sort of this like bathing suit wrap. And you knew from the color scheme exactly who it was supposed to be. The same with King Triton, the same with Ursula, the same with Flounder, And to me, that was sort of the way to do it. Like, don't go above and beyond with, these costumes in order to get us to know, oh, well, that's supposed to be Ariel, because we can see it. Kids are even smart enough to know that's supposed to be Ariel. But let me tell you that the sort of technology that went into this, for example, when you're supposed to be in Ursula's lair, which Disney is no rookie to projection. We know that's their old faithful, right? Projections all over the ceiling. But when you're in Ursula's lair, the way that the entire theater was projected, it was like you were in Ursula's lair. Like you were there, front row somehow for poor unfortunate souls watching it happen in Ursula's house, right?
Right.
When Eric's ship goes by, you look at the ceiling and you literally see a ship go overhead, like a ship in the ocean go. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. Now, was it Broadway caliber? No, it sure wasn't. You know what I mean? But amazing voices, amazing scenery, really amazing storytelling. And I'm here for the diversity and inclusion. Come on, it's time. And so then the third night, we watched it was a reimagined favorite, Disney's Aladdin, a musical spectacular. It also was visually stunning. I won't say it was necessarily my favorite. I will say that it might have been a minor setback that Aladdin was very, very Caucasian, but but it had an absolutely hilarious genie. The A Whole New World sequence was really, really awesome. There was a lot of sort of really cool stunts, a lot of really amazing set. Everybody in it had a pretty good voice. There was times in A Whole New World where it got a little pitchy, and so I took out my note and was making notes about what I was going to send to them. And then for Pirate Night on the main deck where the pool was, they sort of cover the pool and then that becomes a stage, right? And there was an amazing pirate show that was done to live music with a live band that had fireworks that literally were in sync with the live band playing, which to me, that if I was a member of that band, I would have had the absolute worst anxiety ever. I will say this was something that probably was our fault for having overlooked, but we know on Instagram specifically, we knew that there was going to be Minnie dressed as Winifred, there was going to be Daisy dressed as Sarah, and Clarabelle Cow dressed as Mary.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that this was going to be a part of the sort of Halloween show with them doing a version of I Put a Spell on You. That was not the case. They literally dressed up as the Sanderson sisters for meet and greet only. There was no type of performance that went along with that, which that might have been my fault for thinking that we were going to get sort of a Disney trio Sanderson sister show out of it. But they looked awesome. We did see them. We didn't meet and greet them because there actually was a bit of a queue. But to me, it would have been cooler had they come out and done I Put a Spell on You number. But whatever.
Yeah, for sure. So it's more like the meet and greet in Disneyland right now during the Halloween party. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But it's funny because they always have, when they do the little Halloween show the first night that you're there, they always have Minnie do like essentially what is a drag performance to I Put a Spell on You, because she's dressed as a very generic witch and she's like sort of like lip syncing and dancing to I Put a Spell on You, but it's the Bette Midler version, right? And so it just, in my opinion, it would have been really cool for the three of them to have come out and done that version of it together. Which they did not. But can't win them all.
We have notes. Yeah, we have notes for the Disney Wish. So it sounds like there's never really you never want for something to do on a Disney cruise, then, right?
Oh no, absolutely never. Like I mean, I would say so both cruises that we went on have essentially been on the same track or schedule, which is, the first place you really dock is Nassau, Bahamas. And then you go to Castaway Cay. This time we actually opted to stay on the boat for the dock at Nassau, only because I feel like last time we all felt like we did not get enough time on the boat and to sort of utilize everything that we had at our disposal on the boat, like all these really cool things, which was awesome because that meant we got a full day at sea to explore the boat. And then we also got the day at Nassau, which while most people were exploring Nassau, it meant that it kind of felt at times like we had the boat to ourselves, right? Castaway Cay, however, I could live there. I mean, it's just out of this world fun and gorgeous and just... Gosh, like when it's time to go back on the boat, when it's time to go in, you're almost devastated. Like I get like how kids are crying when they leave Magic Kingdom because I mean, it's so no, there's never a moment where you cannot find something to do. I mean, and even if it's something as simple that you could do, I mean, yeah, there's trivia in our home cities, right? But doing it like in the Triton Bar or the hyperspace lounge, the Star Wars themed lounge, which was also absolutely incredible. It's just awesome. Having a couple drinks, being on a boat, seeing the ocean out the window. I mean, we really partake in trivia when we're on a Disney cruise.
Nice. So let's back up for a hot second.
Sure.
So you mentioned Castaway Cay. So those who don't know what that is, this is Disney's private island, basically, that only people on a Disney cruise can go to Castaway Cay, right?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And then even then, I would love to know this for a fact. I actually think that there aren't people that are even permanently placed on Castaway Cay because a lot of the staff that you see is your staff from the boat. Like, so they get off around the same time you do. A lot of them are working, different parts of Castaway Cay when you're there. The main part of Castaway Cay, which is where a lot of your shopping, a lot of your little restaurants and like treat places are, and the water slides, which are a blast. That's sort of like the family-friendly area. There is Serenity Bay, which is adults only, so essentially just a place where you could go and lay on the beach without a lot of, kids and whatnot. It's also absolutely stunning. There's also really cool food there. But I would say universally, Castaway Cay, both cruises now have been all 4 of our favorite days.
Wow, that's really good to know. Good to know. So let's expand on, you just mentioned there's an adult-only section of Castaway Cay. Overall, on this cruise, on a Disney cruise, as an adult with no children, right, would you recommend this for a trip for other adults as something to do? Is there enough to do as an adult that keeps you occupied and engaged on a Disney cruise?
I would say absolutely. In Hyperspace Lounge, in most of the bar areas, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if there's a rule that there are no children allowed, but I've never seen a child in one of them. I would say absolutely. My niece and nephew are sort of old enough now to where I think I could take them on a cruise and they wouldn't absolutely lose their minds. They would sort of, have fun. It's hysterical though, because I feel like both times on the cruise now, the last night that you're there, I think it sinks into all the children that it's the last night there. So you'll be walking down the hallway and you just see one spiraling child after another, right? But I didn't get to do this, or I wanted you to buy me this. And you can tell they've all just expired and they're devastating that they have to leave the next morning. But it's both times now, I would say that's been a consistent thing that's happened. But I think that, I think I would have fun with Sadie and Grayson on the cruise. I think that if with no children, it's also awesome.
Yeah.
I think that this time we didn't come in contact with a lot of children only because we did have the late dinner, which I think probably most people with children wanted to do the early dinner. And then also, I guess because a lot of the trivia, a lot of the activities on the boat that we did do, they did take place in bars. And so, there also weren't a lot of children there. I remembered specifically for Little Mermaid, we were surrounded by a ton of children. And part of me kept wanting to remind them of proper theater etiquette. And I had to remind myself, like, no, Kale, this is for them, really. Yeah, you need to pull it back a tiny bit. Yeah, I would say a Disney cruise, it's Yeah, it's perfect for, if you have kids, if you don't have kids, there's plenty of stuff to do for both parties.
That's good to know. Good to know. So how Disney, in quotes, is a Disney cruise, if that makes sense?
Yes, I absolutely get what you're saying. It's fully Disney.
Okay.
To me, the entire experience is sort of like being on a Disney resort, like Grand Floridian or somewhere like that. But however, there's entertainment there. You don't have to go to the parks for it, right? Mm-hmm. But every single thing is Disney. I mean, the rooms, like our room was Frozen themed. Mark and Roger's room was Cinderella themed. Every piece of music you hear, because of like the internet connectivity and whatnot on the ship, you essentially have like a television that's preloaded with movies. Well, guess what all those movies are, right? Which is good because you're in the mood. Like, I think Steve and I watched Saving Mr. Banks like 3 times, and that's not because we don't get to watch it here. We watch it here all the time too, but. Yeah, it's fully Disney. I would say it probably is a little more Disney than a Disney resort, just because of the entertainment and the characters. You don't oftentimes see character meet and greets at a Disney resort, but yeah, I mean it's full-fledged Disney 24/7.
Got it. So it's safe to say to bring someone on a Disney cruise who is not a Disney fan would be a mistake, probably. They would not have fun.
Yes, I would say it might even be a little bit more of a mistake than taking them to a Disney park, because at least at a Disney park, I think that's what they're prepared for. They prepare to see absolutely everything. I think that taking them on a Disney cruise, because they hear the word cruise, they think that there probably won't be as much. I would say it probably would be a bigger shock to someone's system that wasn't a Disney fan to take them on a Disney cruise than to take them on a trip to Walt Disney World.
Right. Well, because there's no escape, right, on the cruise ship. It's not. No. It's not as though you can let's just go downtown Orlando for a day.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I will say that I don't think. Like when you walk into Magic Kingdom, specifically the first time that I remember walking into Magic Kingdom, it's just like, what do they call it? Sensory overload. Like it's you're looking at everything and you're just like, whoa, I don't even know where to look. I don't think the ship is like that. I think that there are things that you can appreciate in like a sort of relaxing way. You're not overwhelmed. It's not being thrown at you. You're not getting pelted in the face with the Disney, consistently. But I mean, every bit of it is Disney. I would say it's a Disney park or a Disney resort without the sort of sensory overload, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, so I guess to sort of wrap things up, what are your, overall impressions of going on a Disney cruise, specifically, I guess, with the Disney Wish? What are some things that maybe you would like to see improved upon, and what were some of your highlights of the trip?
So, Castaway Cay is always a highlight. Well, I say always, like I've done this a million times. Both times now, Castaway Cay has been a major highlight. I also have to say, I really do like all the theatrical productions that we've seen there. On the Disney Dream a year ago, there was they did a sort of it was based off of the live action version, but it was a Beauty and the Beast show. Even that was really cool. I wouldn't say that it was as good as anything we saw on the Wish. As far as things I would change, I think sometimes that Disney is sort of unaware of the exclusivity that it takes part in without, I mean, I don't think that it's an intentional thing, right? I do know people who haven't had the opportunity to go on a Disney cruise. I also have seen people on the ship who proudly announce on their door with magnets that it's their 21st Disney cruise, right? Mm-hmm. I wish that there was some way, specifically as an annual pass holder, or someone who's been very loyal to the Disney parks and the Disney company, who does spend a lot of their time and money doing this. I wish there was a way for those people to sort of be appreciated in the form of being able to partake in Disney Cruise Line activities and cruises without it costing an arm and a leg. Me getting to go on this cruise was a privilege. I was fortunate to be able to do that. I just wish that there were probably, I guess, more options for people who, want to do this. It is sort of a dream of theirs. They put a lot of money into the company. And then it seems like it's, a lot of the same people that get to do this over and over again. I'm not saying that I think that annual pass holders should get a free ride on a Disney cruise ship, right? But I mean, specifically for me, who have only been an annual pass holder for about 5 years, the boys have been annual pass holders, I think, for well over a decade. And so it's sort of like, why not like an every other year option to sort of cash some type of points in for a certain percentage off a Disney cruise? I think that things like that would be amazing. I think that there is a very, very weird exclusive feeling within Disney Cruise Line, right? That I don't think I'm necessarily a fan of. Again, though, I don't think that that's Disney's fault. I think that that's something that we sort of take and run with and, is sort of uncool. But that would really be my only critique. I just wish it was a little bit more accessible.
That's totally fair to say. I think we talk about it a lot on the podcast that, we, as much love as we have for Disney, it is not attainable for a lot of people
1,000%
throughout the world.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's a really tough nut to crack, right? That Disney, although is inclusive, they are very exclusive, as you said, sometimes for a lot of people. And that's
absolutely
it's just one of those things that how do we fix it? Is there a fix for it? Is it something that we've created on our own?
Because it's, the unfortunate part of, and I know we're getting into to territory that's probably meant for another podcast, but, it sucks and it's heartbreaking to think that, unfortunately, that's the way that all like the world economy is set up, right? The reason why we're able to go to a Walt Disney World park or resort is because someone else can't. And that's the saddest concept in the world, right? But unfortunately, it's true. I just wish that there was a way to afford people those opportunities who want to do it, who have never gotten to do it. And again, when I say like the people, announcing that it's their 21st Disney cruise, that's not a read. If it's something that they love doing and it makes them happy and it doesn't hurt anybody, by all means, take a 22nd Disney cruise. It just breaks my heart that there are people that are able to do that. And then there are people who have not had the opportunity to go on one, who would love to.
Fair enough. Well, all that being said, it sounds like you did have a wonderful time on the Disney Wish. And thank you for telling us all about that and explaining some things to those of us who have not gone on a Disney cruise yet, maybe soon. That we now maybe know a little bit more about what to expect.
Yes, we should do a GDTD Disney cruise.
I think it has to be in the cards, right?
What if we're so popular on it that they make a new Disney cruise ship and it's called the Disney D?
I mean, I don't know about what if. I think that's going to happen.
And absolutely. Guess what it's shaped like?
Wow.
A boat. I guess it's a freaking boat. It has to be shaped like a boat.
I was going to say careful. Well, again, thank you, Kale, for sharing your experience. Tweedles out there, if you have any questions about going on a Disney cruise, let us know. Kale will be happy, I'm sure, to answer all of those questions. You can write into us on the socials at GDTD Podcast, or you can leave us a voice memo or an email at info@gazetothed.com.
I'll tell you a tale of the bottomless blue and its hay to the starboard heave ho. That's how we should fade. You should do like a slow fade out, like the end of I Want to Dance with Somebody.
Is this your audition for the Disney D ship?
Let me tell you something. At the pirate show, there was a live Captain Jack Sparrow that came out. Had never been so jealous in my whole life. The closest I've ever been to throwing someone off a boat.
I highly doubt that. I really highly doubt that.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Kale.
Guess what it's time for, and not my mental health medication. I've already taken it.
Wow, good to know. Informative. Could that be Quick D then?
It's time for Quick D.
Amazing.
See, you need to that needs to be your job from now on. That sound, the blowhorn, because I can't do it.
But it pleases me so much. It pleases me so much to hear you try. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Incredible. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It is time for Quick D. Kale, do you want to educate the children who don't know what Quick D is?
Yes, Quick D, which has recently been revamped. Can I officially say that we're revamping it to our listeners giving us questions?
I think so. This is Quick D 2.0.
Quick D 2.0. So a quick double D, if you will.
If you will.
It is where you ask us questions and we have to answer them on the fly, and they have to be perfectly answered and executed very well, which Patrick and I are pros at.
Flawless, absolutely flawless. And when you say you mean the Tweedles. The Tweedles are sending us their very own Quick D questions for us to answer.
That's correct.
Indeed, it is. All right, so I'm just going to go blindly. This is maybe a mistake. Blindly into Instagram, where people have sent us their Quick D questions, and read one, and we're going to answer it. Are you ready, Kale?
I love going blindly into the Quick D.
Fantastic. The first one is from @Magical Travels with Randy, a frequent contributor here on the podcast. Yes. We love you so much.
We love Randy.
Magical Travels with Randy says, did Disney set fire to the harmonious barges for insurance money? That's funny. We were actually literally just talking about this today in our very own group chat here on Gaze Do the D.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about the insurance money because I don't feel like they're hurting at the moment, but did they do it to maybe erase it from our memories permanently? Probably. I wouldn't put it past them.
Disney has a history of burning things down, literally, don't they? Like, when you think about the Enchanted Tiki Room, remember, with Iago and Zazu, is that who it was? Set fire. Disney fully set fire to their own attraction.
Yep, they sure did. I bet that's what ends up happening with Splash Mountain.
They're just going to burn it down and start over.
Burn it down and start over.
I wish they would set fire to Tom Sawyer's Island. I think that needs to burn down as well.
Do you know I've never been over there?
It is something that you can miss, I think.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Not a lot to do over there.
What do you do over there? I know we're off topic, but
there's like a cave that you can explore and some bridges to walk. It's just like a walk around experience, basically.
Well, that sounds like a huge waste of time.
It absolutely is. Burn it down, Disney. Just like you set fire to your own barges. Well, hopefully that answers your question. We absolutely did not answer your question, Magical Travels with Randy. We instead talked about Tom Sawyer Island.
We're so sorry.
No, we're just want to do that here on the podcast. Let's move on to one more question, shall we, Kale?
Okay. Yep, let's do it.
All right. So @CWells_13 is asking, what is a piece of merch or branded product you wish Disney offered?
This is going to sound strange. I wish that there was like a realistic licensed mermaid tail.
What?
A mermaid tail, so that I could put it on and then like trick people. Surprise! I just got out of the shower and I'm Daryl Hannah from Splash. That kind of thing.
I both do want to see that happen and absolutely don't want to see you in a mermaid tail. It really...
Could you imagine a mermaid tail big enough to fit my legs in it? Like... I would just look like a snake. I mean,
the material cost alone would be outstanding.
I know. It's unreal.
That will do it for this episode of Gaze Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gazedothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gaze Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast. Submit your questions or show ideas to info@gazedothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See ya real soon.